They say the creek behind my house only rises once every 20 years, but in the 15 years I've lived here, I've seen it rise 5 times. So yeah, that tells you something about how seriously this neighborhood takes flood risk, or doesn't. My name is Malcolm Fry. I'm 67 now, a retired hydrologist, meaning I'm pretty much the last person you want to ignore when water starts whispering through the soil like it did that June. And let me just tell you, that week was one for the books. First morning it started raining. I felt it before I saw it. Earth too soft under my boots, a sluggishness in the air like the land itself was holding its breath, and all those roots holding on to the bank, flexing for a fight. I took my usual walk down to the creek after breakfast, umbrella in one hand, thermos of black coffee in the other. Boots sank deeper than usual, mud sucking at my heels. The HOA had just cleared the West Bank for their annual Camp Sunrise. Picture this: 25 tents, 2 canopies, a couple of portable toilets, picnic tables all set up exactly where the old floodplain runs. Smart, right? I watched a clump of sod break off and tumble into the water. The creek wasn't angry yet, but it was thinking about it. So old habits die hard. I snapped photos, took measurements, scribbled notes in my faded surveyor's book, and fired off my first warning email to the HOA urgent creek bank saturation and erosion risk. I told them plain move the camp or they'd regret it. And of course, I heard nothing back. That night, rain kept falling, polite, steady, the kind that fools you into thinking it'll never amount to much. It's the quiet ones you watch for. By next morning, I saw 2 board members out in the field, Chad Bennett, the VP and son of the president, and Jim Hero, the treasurer. Chad gave me that smirk young guys reserve for old-timers. Appreciate it, Malcolm, but the kids need this camp. We're good. Like, did they think I was talking about vibes? I tried to explain soil saturation, channel encroachment, cumulative rainfall. But Jim just laughed. Man, you've been retired too long. I took video this time, the way the bank curved out like a pregnant belly, the water chewing at the edge, the forecast calling for storms. Sent another email, this one with everything attached. Pictures, PDFs, warnings, CC'd the city's flood office. Got a 1-line reply from the president, Colleen Bennett. Thank you for your input, Mr. Fry. We have it under control. Wednesday dread hit me low and cold. Not anxiety dread, the kind you don't talk about, the kind that creeps in when the frogs go silent, when robins disappear, when your dreams feel wet, even when you're dry. I walked my property that night, flashlight in hand. I could see it if the banks went, water would rush through my garden, down those stone steps I built, and straight into Camp Sunrise. At dawn, I hiked out again. Poncho on yardstick in hand, marked the water with red tape, filmed a video log, sent my third and final warning. The creek's up 6 inches in 48 hours, soil's giving way. If 1 more inch of rain falls, you'll lose the whole field. Evacuate the camp today. Silence. But you know what happened? SUVs and minivans started rolling in, kids jumping out with soccer mom bumper stickers and hairdos that said, "Camp Hair Don't Care." Staffers were setting up games, the air buzzing with trust that the HOA knew what they were doing. And there I stood, rain coming harder, feeling grief, not anger, grief for what was coming and what they refused to see. Next morning, it was thick air, so humid you wore it like a coat. Clouds bruised copper and gray, Camp Sunrise at full throttle. Banners flapped, kids splattered paint soccer balls, rolled through mud. Counselors moved tables closer to the bank. One slipped and laughed, never noticing the ground shifting beneath their feet. I grabbed my camera and notes, walked over and asked for the coordinator, Jessa, sunburned clipboard in hand, maybe 23 tops. Jessa, you need to evacuate the lower field. There's slope instability. She glanced at the bank, nervous. The HOA said it's fine. The HOA isn't qualified. I am. 35 years with the Corps of Engineers. You don't want to see what happens if you ignore this. Or just then, Chad showed up, hat backwards, clipboard swinging. Still playing weatherman, Mr. Fry. I'm playing hydrologist, and the creek's about to prove me right. He put his hand on Jess's shoulder, oozing confidence. We've got sandbags out. It's good for kids to get muddy. I stared him down. Sandbags don't stop saturation collapse, and he was risking more than tents. With all due respect, Malcolm, maybe it's time to let the HOA handle things. I left before I said something I'd regret. That afternoon, a news van arrived to cover the community summer camp. Colleen gave her sound bites under an HOA umbrella, smiling for the camera, while I sat at my desk compiling a full report, maps, photos, every ignored warning, all time-stamped and triple copied. Dropped one copy at the clubhouse, told the teenage receptionist, "Give this to Colleen before the weekend." By nightfall, the creek was at 80% flood stage. Camp Sunrise was at full capacity. I barely ate dinner. Thunder rumbled. I watched radar cross-check topography, knew the creek would breach in 36 hours if the storm stalled. What haunted me wasn't the data. It was memory. Another storm, another river, my daughter Riley lost to a flash flood on a camping trip years ago. I never found her, just her sleeping bag downstream. I didn't talk about Riley anymore, but that night her memory pulled at me, raw and electric, as I watched kids gather for a movie night just yards from disaster. I stepped out, headlamp on, walked to the creek 6 inches higher in 12 hours, the bank crumbling, grass sliding into the current. The camp was lit up, laughter echoing, no one had any idea. I stood in the rain until lightning cracked the sky. At 2 a.m. I woke to silence, the frogs gone, wildlife fled. The water was out of its bank, slithering toward the camp under the string lights. Didn't ask permission. I ran straight to the camp, flashlight in hand, shouting for counselors. Found a little girl, maybe 10, pointed me to the right tent. Jessa and Cody both half asleep. The creek's breached. Move everyone to higher ground now. Jessa saw something in my eyes. She didn't argue, just radioed for evacuation. By 3, sleepy kids were shuffling up the slope in blankets, counselors guiding them. Rain mocking us all. Then I saw Chad stumbling from the staff tent, yelling, "What the hell is going on? The creek's coming. Help move the kids." He started to argue, but then the flood hit, roared through the field like a freight train, lifting tables, snapping tents, slamming debris into the dark. Chad screamed. I shoved him aside, ran for the field, my flashlight darting over wreckage. A tent was bobbing on the current, someone inside. I waded in water to my chest, yanked open the flap, found a little boy, maybe 6, wide-eyed and silent. "Come on, buddy, we're going for a ride." I carried him out, debris slamming into me, bathroom units tumbling past. Gave him to a medic. The camp was gone, not damaged, gone. The field was a lake, reflecting red and blue lights as fire trucks and police arrived. Colleen Bennett showed up, bathrobe and slippers, shouting, "What happened? Where are the children?" I turned, soaked and furious. This is what happens when warnings are ignored. The news crew filmed everything. "Sir, did you warn the HOA?" "Yes." "In writing." 3 times. "I have documentation." Colleen tried to talk about children's safety, but the truth was out. Social media blew up with flood videos. Teens posted clips of tents flying away, footage of me hauling that boy through the water. That night I stayed up printing files, answering messages, not for praise, just to make sure this time someone listened. The HOA spun the story, unprecedented weather event, no lives lost thanks to volunteers, not a word about ignored warnings. But the town was awake now. Next morning, the creek looked calm, deceptively innocent. I found Jim Hero at the clubhouse, trash bags full of ruined art projects. "You know this wasn't a fluke," I said. "You've seen the data." He nodded. It's easier to go along than stand alone. We both knew better now. I handed everything to the city's risk division. An investigator, Laura Kravitz, called it deeply alarming. They launched an inquiry, formal, public. That night I got a letter from the HOA, unauthorized presence may be subject to review. No apology. I laughed, citations can't scare someone who's lost a child to silence. That night, another storm, another breach. I knocked on doors, moved neighbors' cars, yelled at teenagers filming on the bank. One almost slipped into the creek, pulled him out just in time, both of us soaked but alive. When the fire trucks rolled up, Officer Karp said, "We'll follow your lead." That stunned me. I led the block evacuation. No one else was hurt. By dawn, the camp was mud, the clubhouse condemned, the neighborhood shell-shocked. The mayor gave me a commendation. The city commissioned a new flood study, this time using my data. HOA held a private board meeting, tried to spin things. Flyers showed up in mailboxes blaming one man's vendetta. Didn't matter. Change had started. Parents thanked me. Kids called me the Creekman. Jessa checked in. Even Jim brought me secret board minutes proving Colleen had overruled votes to relocate camp. She wanted a press win for her re-election. The civil suit went forward. Negligence, breach of duty, endangerment. City backed me. Parents testified. Volunteers spoke up. The judge ruled HOA was liable, ordered to pay damages, install new safety protocols, issue an apology to every household, this time naming me. Some neighbors called me a troublemaker, but most were grateful. By September, the town offered me a part-time advisory role. I nearly said no, but remembered Riley, how I couldn't save her, and how maybe this was how I'd honor that. One day, Elijah, the boy I'd pulled from that tent, showed up with a science fair flyer. We built a model creek. He won a ribbon and wrote me a thank you note. Thanks for listening to the water when no one else would. The flood carved more than earth. It carved out secrets, forced us to listen. Creek class became a weekly thing, teaching kids how to read the land. Pay attention, not just to water, but to what gets overlooked. HOA turned the old campsite into a protected buffer zone. Colleen and Chad both left. The new board asked me to help rewrite the bylaws, real risk assessments, real community input. They even put up a bench by the creek plaque and all. Maybe the best revenge isn't lawsuits or shaming, it's being impossible to ignore. Now, when I walk the creek, I'm not alone. Kids leave chalk messages on my gate. Sometimes quiet is peace, not defeat. Maybe finally we're living on higher ground. So what do you think? Does accountability matter, or is it all just water under the bridge? Let me know in the comments. Did the neighborhood get justice, or did the real flood come from somewhere deeper?